Oh, that's the second one I like.
Hare Krishna,
The TV was on.
Krishna नाम संकीर्तन की जय, नाम प्रभु की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंद। Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So we ended our last discussion with the idea of entertaining questions. We have a couple of questions that were in the queue there. I think was Ball's question gave us some pause and caused us to think about answering it in the evening. What was it again? About deity worship, about being the meeting place between the temporal and the eternal, saying something about that and how to keep that in mind or something along those lines.
Yes, that and in relationship to how you started the class with understanding Krishna and Radha and their associates in the their subjective bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I had it in my mind before, but
Mm-hmm.
you gave a really good way to understand how their bodies are constituted of pure emotion.
Well, we talked about maybe this will hopefully get to the heart of your inquiring mind on this topic. We talked about the idea of a material body and the idea of a spiritual body, and the material body being kind of a crude expression, if you will, of a spiritual essence. And again, we used the example of material. We have an organ called a heart, but it can't really melt and do all the things that we say it does, and so forth. It's a physical manifestation of something that transcends the physical limitations. So a physical expression. It's just like living in the material world. It may be hard to conceive of spiritual bodies, and living in the spiritual world, it's difficult to conceive of material bodies, material ideas of a heart, and of a smile, as we said, being just movement of certain facial muscles. What? How could there be something like that? You just try to think of the inhabitants of Vrindavan hearing about material bodies and thinking, how is that possible? What kind of limitation is that? Hearts that don't actually melt, and so on. So our emotional world, subjective world, is our reality. It's where we make all our judgments and find all our meaning, and so on and so forth. And it is, in a sense, it's metaphysical because it transcends the limits of just physical um, um, movements that simulate them in a very feelings in a very crude way. The smile, for example, simulating happiness, or what a smile is really about. So so what you've got there is you've got, of course, your material emotions, but they're quasi subjective, in that they arise from the subtle matter, the psychic matter, being a kind of reflector of consciousness proper. And so it takes on a subjective, quasi-subjective character and becomes a mediator between consciousness itself and gross matter. And in that mediating space, qualitative experiences occur, and so forth, and so on. The emotive life takes place, and we live there in the emotive, subjective world. But on the spiritual side, proper, of course, we're going consciousness itself rather than the reflection of consciousness, the chittavas, the abhas of chitta. The whole of the Mahatma is manifest in a microcosmic sense, in the form of the chitta of each individual. Prabhupada, I think in his Gita commentary, describing the material elements, describes chitta as contaminated consciousness, or something like that. So anyway, that realm of mental, emotional life, we take that a step further to consciousness proper. If consciousness, in relation to the chitta, subtle matter, causes this whole emotive life unto itself, the other idea is it's a world of emotions, and really emotions in ecstasy, emotions all expressed in relation to the personality of the Godhead, the mass of consciousness, rather than in relation to matter. And so you're going from the gross matter to subtle matter to actual spiritual reality, consciousness proper, and there you've got the full real hearts, real smiles, if you will, that have shape, have form, and that from that perspective, we're experiencing the full sense of heart, as like we talk about it. Oh, my heart! That really changed my heart. That really melted my heart. Hearts don't change; they just pump. They don't melt, and so forth. But these again are just facsimiles of a real heart. And so we explained like that. That's what you're talking about. And so then we come to the realm of the deity, the archa vigraha. And here is a form made of paint, ostensibly, or metal, or wood, or stone, of material ingredients. And I've likened this to kind of a meeting point between the temporal forms made out of stone, paint, wood, and so forth, and the eternal. And it's just, Prabhupada uses the language in his Bhagavatam commentary, the symbolic representation of the world of spiritual promotion proper. So you've got kind of an in-between there. It's not like the in-between of the mental emotional world, but it's an in-between. It's kind of in between the spiritual world proper and the mental and emotional world of constitutes material existence. There are elements from the mental emotional world and from the other side, from the spiritual side. From the spiritual side, the willingness of the Godhead manifest in that form. Sometimes we speak of the Archibigrai as the form of the Acharya's heart, of the form in which the deity is appearing in the heart, and he or she manifests that before the public. It builds a temple and so forth. So that's a very special realm, and it's a symbolic realm that in that there's we can say that the material heart, go back to that example, is a symbol of the actual heart of spiritual emotion, but here we have something that's a symbol of the form of the Godhead himself. And through certain language, protocol, dress, and so forth, a veritable realm of ritual with mandalas and yantras and so on and so forth. We enter in there in a certain space, and we talk to the deity, we feed Krishna, we offer various items of worship and so on and so forth. And this is usually, for example, like you worship Giriraj Govardhan. Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. And so you offer different elements to him. And you know that Giriraj Govardhan is Krishna, manifestation of Krishna, and also says on the side of Giriraj Govardhan that he's the friend of Krishna. Best Haridas Varya, the best friend of Krishna. So a phenomenon where he's God and devotee from different angles of vision. Radharani saw him in the Bhagavatam as the best devotee of Krishna, because Govardhan is all the things that you're offering to Govardhan, he's offering all those things to Krishna. So as you are doing it in the realm of ritual, offering the various items and so forth, in the spiritual world, Govardhan's offering to Krishna. Giri is offering to the Raj, if you will, to the Dhari, Giridhari, the lifter of himself. And Jiva Goswami gives a beautiful explanation in Gopal Champu, and I think drawing from Raghunath Das Goswami's description of Giriraj having all the 64 ingredients within him. There are birds that chirp, that chant the holy names, and there are caves for that serve as bedrooms for the deity, to put Krishna to rest and so forth, and fresh waters, and go through all the different 64 items. Is a beautiful description and how Govardhan embodies all these things, and he is a veritable offering. So in the Leela, the point is this offering that you're doing, or the devotees do, and when they do the puja, is going on in kind of real time, and we're kind of imitating that, and in a symbolic way doing that. Krishna is being offered food in the morning, and Mother Yasoda's assistant comes, sit, eat, and so forth, and we say, Idam Naivedyam Prim Krishnaya Namaha. That sounds a little weird from Mother Yashoda's point of view in relation to Krishna, but this is, again, a realm of ritual, so there are things from both sides there, and it's an access point where the ingredients look material, but what our experience is, if you approach them, the stone deity, the statue, just a statue. What are you doing all that for? But when you do it according to the system given, which involves some technical rules for the realm of ritual, and above and beyond, of course, the fuel of it, the giving of the heart, and so forth, one experiences eternality. And this is the beginning. People want to know what is enlightenment. It's not hard to say. When you start to experience, I'm eternal, you're getting somewhere. You have experience. Oh, I'm eternal. You do this, you get the experience. I'm eternal. I know that. I've had experience. I can't put it in words exactly, but you say it, I can nod my head and go, yeah, I know this. I've experienced it. I'm eternal. And it's happy. It's a relief. It's a relief to know. It's comforting. It's comforting. It has a kind of a comfort to it and a kind of knowing to it. A knowing. The comfort is the ananda. The knowing is the knowing that I don't need to know anything else. Knowing this experience, that puts all other experiences to shame, retires them. This is the kind of, not that I know everything. What will happen next and who did what and where. And that kind of knowledge is not very comforting. So a kind of a noetic, maybe that's the right word, noetic bliss. This is just the beginning, because in the Atma, of course, there's a little ananda. It kind of has like a negative ananda. It's knowing it, experience it, is blissful. It's a relief from having thought that I might not exist, and I have to struggle to make sure that I do, even at the cost, perhaps, of my neighbor. To sort of get out of that struggle. That's blissful in a relief kind of a sense. And again, a kind of a knowing that knowing this, nothing further needs to be known. Something a little further to know Krishna, but we're doing that. We're realizing the self, experiencing the self in the context of very serious sadhana and sangha. Of the bhakti nature. So there's some knowing Krishna also, and then there's some bliss of bhakti as well in the context of the Atmananda. There's the Bhakti Ananda, because the Atmananda is coming in the context of the pursuit of Bhakti Ananda. So anyway, it's very there are books and magazines. There's a whole magazine called What is Enlightenment, and by interviewing people and writing articles. It's kind of really simple. And it's the absence of certain things, to freedom from lust, and greed, envy, jealousy, these types of feelings in relation to matter, at least. So, at any rate, just working with the word eternal in relation to the temporal, it's a meeting point between the two, the temporal and the eternal. And while it looks at a glance as the temporal, if you approach revelation, you get a different experience. And it's a very very powerful and very generous on the part of the Godhead to make such an appearance as the Archavigraha, as the Shaligram, as the Govardhan Shila, as may be the case, and so forth. And under the good direction, having received the mantra that corresponds with the deity, then we enter in there, and we are doing everything symbolically, so to speak. Eventually, the deity starts saying to you, hey, look, like you did this mountain, can you add a little salt? Salt. And then you're moving away from the symbolic into that which the deity is symbolically represents. And we find extraordinary devotees worshiping with bhava and arguing with the deity and you're asking this, but you don't give me any money, so I can't do it. If you want it, then use it. One of my disciples told me that we don't have enough, devotees who can do everything. I think we should stop worshiping the deity. Stop doing the puja in the morning, and then you'll send some more people. I said, you can't do that, but I kind of liked it at this time. He's getting somewhere. So Prabhupada used to say, what do you think, that after all these books we're just worshiping some stone? It's not, there's more to it than that. It's a very generous dispensation of the God. Prabhupada used to say, Krishna comes in the arch of Vigraha in a form that you can handle. You can. I think of it in two different ways. One way you can handle it, you pick him up. The other way you can handle it because, as I've said before, he doesn't usually talk that much, and you can handle that because if you start talking, then you got, that's it. You're done. Bring this, do that. You have no time for anything else. But we have other desires, so he's kind enough not to talk about it, and the fact that. Back in the closet, I get to go. I've got a little room here, and the rest of the house is yours. It should be the way around, but here I am. Okay, I live in a closet, a cave here that you've made, and gradually, then the cave becomes the house, and the house becomes the closet, something like that, and the inside becomes the outside. This is important. A fellow once said to me, "You're in North Carolina," he said, Swamiji, I was an Indian gentleman, Hindu gentleman, said, I think that spiritual life should be private. Not that in public, like, for example, chanting, private. And I said, in spiritual life, there should be no difference between the public and the private life. That is spiritual life. Or the private life and the public life, there's no difference. So, can very much help us in this regard. So it's very important. And even great devotees who have transcended the archon, so to speak, mark, and can draw everything from non-bhajan. They still go to make the effort to establish temples, deity worship for the devotees. And Prabhupada himself came to America with a deity of Radha and Krishna. Right? And carrying them with him and so forth. So many temples. So it's an important part of our practice. Archana, we emphasize hearing, chanting, and remembering or meditating. Those are three of the main limbs of Rag Marg. But I tend to include half of Archan as well. We find some of the great Rag Marg devotees, Prabhupada as an example, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, they established temples and so forth. The point is, of course, that Archan invariably has some degree of reverence. I was sometime back, and a fellow in the audience said, I really like the idea of the intimacy with the Godhead as opposed to awe and reverence, but I see guys always bowing down to statues and stuff like that. It seems pretty reverential, and so on. So I explained to him the idea of the two bodies. In the Sadhaka Daya, we conduct ourselves one way, and that will promote the Siddha Daya, in which we can conduct ourselves in another way, in intimacy with Krishna. And reverence is in relation to the symbolic representation of Krishna, for example, in the form of the deity. And this system has been established by the Goswamis, and they worship the deities and their gopis, right? gopis, gopas in their sadhaka day, they conducted themselves in a way, the ideas that will give rise to a siddhadeha. So I often say, everybody wants a siddhadeha. I said, well, what the sadhaka day I gave you is not good enough. You're through with that one. You perfected that one. So in initiation, we give a sadhaka day, so that you don't ask for the siddhadeha if you haven't perfected, but you've taken advantage of what you've already given, which is to bring your senses that the body consists of in a sense, in touch with sense objects, which they do naturally. With you at the helm, that means only for the pleasure of serving the senses of Krishna. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchite. This is Nard's definition of bhakti. Rupa Goswami drew from that verse to find bhakti as he did Anyabhilashi to Sunyam Gyan, and so on. So means that with your senses, you serve the senses of Krishna. Atmendriya Pritivancha, Tarinam Kam. So love of Atmendriya Priti, the desire, Vancha, to love the senses and bring them in contact with sense objects for their own pleasure. We call that Kam. And Krishnendriya Priti, Icha, that's called praying. Something like that. So they look similar, but they're different. So the sadhaka deha is perfected in this way. It's a work in progress, and we are in touch with sense objects, and we see them as opportunities to serve Krishna. Just like if you love somebody, then you see something, I'll get that for him. That's for him. That's for her. Oh, she would like that. And you're in that love space. So everything you see in relation to this is praying. When it's all in relation to Krishna. And the deity gives us such a nice opportunity to go through the motions, if you will, of what the whole of the Vrindavan life is like. It's a full life. You can shop for him and cook for him. It's very practical. I was saying that about enlightenment. What is enlightenment? It's a big question, and it's kind of we really kind of simplify it, and we say here you can experience your eternal. It's the beginning, and this is what it should be like. And we engage you, and you get consumed by the engagement. Sometimes a wave will come, and you'll know. That's how I feel like that. That's what the book said. I feel like I'm experiencing that. And similarly, another term, enlightenment, is the one term, love of God. We should love God. So for the Gaudiyas, it's very down to earth. It's very, how do you love God? How do you love anybody? Yeah, you invite them over for dinner. You cook for them, right? You meet somebody and you say, "How about dinner? What do you think? Can I take you out to dinner?" Something like that, right? So it's very practical. Cook for them, bring them a gift, clothes, jewelry. It's very down to earth. That's why I say the Gaudiya Vaishnava is so like user friendly. What we do as humans is what we do as devotees. We just change the object of our attention, affection, pursuit, and so forth. There's no artificial imposition. What you are is what you are, in a sense. That's why in Bhagavad, when Krishna, when Nanda Maharaj was captured by Varuna for apparently not the attendants of Varuna for not observing the Ekadasi properly. Apparently, they were wrong, as it turns out. But Nanda Maharaj disappeared and went to the bottom of the ocean and saw Krishna and went to save him. and had a conversation with, what's his name, Neptune? Varuna. Same guy. And he had a conversation with him, and Varuna offered his respects and so forth. And Nanda Maharaj was saved, and so the Brajbasis were like, "Wow, Krishna saved Nanda Maharaj from Varuna's people and so forth." And they thought that was special, and so they thought he has some special powers. So they asked him what everybody wants to know: what will our next life be like? Hmm? What will it be like? Hmm? And what did Krishna show them? In the Gokul, he showed them Golok. Everything the same. It's a little bit different. From the Nara Leela to the Deva Leela. So it's saying something to us. And our human life is very, 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 what we experience as humans. We're experiencing the fullness of ourself only in relation to matter. Matter is drawing that out, and that we're a doer, a knower, or an apprehender, and that we're eternal, and that we can have comprehensive knowing by which we'll be perfectly happy is what we're pursuing. We're pursuing that here, there, and everywhere, and of course we're not looking within ourselves. We need a little help from outside, from Shastra, from Guru. But again, it's not an artificial imposition. What your liberated life, enlightened life will be. Is it going to be something entirely weird and different from your present experience, that there will be no self? Okay. What will my next life be? There will be no self. Okay. I don't know if I want to go there. Yeah. So your enlightened condition will be no self. You won't be anymore. That's what they call enlightenment. But then I'm not sure if I'm interested in going there. These kinds of ideas. Or you will be a witness. Sit, Yoga Siddhanta, be a witness forever. So there are aspects of the self that Gyan Marg, Yoga Marg don't bring out, the Bhakti Marg brings out. That corresponds, as I say, with our human experience. So anyway, the deity worship is very, very down to earth, if you will, and very user friendly. And as Prabhupada said, Krishna's coming in a form that just that you can handle, just for you. Now you do it right with we say that giving the heart is the main thing, of course, especially with the Govardhan Shila, which you worship. This is the main thing. There are people that criticized Raghunath Das Goswami in his time for worshiping the Govardhan Shila rather than the Shalagram Shila. In a way they criticized. They said, well, he worships the Govardhan Shila. Mahaprabhu believed in that because he's not a Brahmin. He was not from a Brahmin family. He's not qualified to worship Shalagram Shila. So they gave him some stone from Govardhan, something like that. And he doesn't do all the ritual and everything. So Mahaprabhu told him to worship with some tulsi and some Ganga Jal, water from the Ganga, and kacha, some sweet
Gunjamala.
Gunjamala. He gave him the Gunjamala he used to wear around his neck. Very, very simple worship because he's sort of on a Sudra Varna. He doesn't know how to do this sophisticated worship and so forth. But this is a misunderstanding. The more that you give the heart, the less the ingredients of any consequence. Getting all these ingredients and consequence are related to all the things that you do, that you would be doing for yourself. That are fueled by your desires. As those desires are emptied out, exhausted in the heart of love for Krishna, so that if you just if you're with somebody you love, you don't concerned with anything, just that they're there. And that's all that matters. I know that you're there and you're with me. That's it. I can go on. You don't have to have any, we ain't, there's a song, ain't got very much money, but I still love you, honey, or something like that. So it's something like that. This is the Govardhan worship is like that's the theme song. Sure. I think God love you, honey. Given
No, I ain't got. No, money.
I'm so in love with you.
That's right.
Okay, now if we've got this earworm from you, it's transcendental.
Mahaprabhu, was singing the cinema songs in the Rath Yatra.
So this is our new diction.
Sure fits our song. So anyway, this is Raghunath Das Goswami's worship of the Shalagar is like the kind of the culmination of the deity worship. It's the full face of that. It's completely Ragmarg deity. Shalagram is a Vaidhi Marg deity. There's all kind of rules and regulations for worshiping him. Qualification for Ragmarg is you're drawn by taste, and so it's a very high thing. Govardhan worship. But Mahaprabhu began it by giving it to the Prayojan Tattvacharya, Raghunath Das Goswami, in our Sampradaya. He instituted that. I have a little Govardhan Shila, we worship him. He's at Audarya. I got it from one of my godbrothers, and he was, I told the story before, but I'll tell it again for those who haven't heard. His name was Yashodanandan Maharaj, and he met me. This was shortly after I was living independent of ISKCON, and I met him. And he in the daytime he said, "I want to come at night, and I want to bring you something for you." So I said, "Okay." So he came at night. And he brought me these two Govardhan Shilas. He took out of the cloth. He looked and showed me, and he said, "I got these many years ago from Govardhan, and I showed them to Prabhupada. And I told Prabhupada that Prabhupada in the Brahmanda Purana is stated that the stones from Govardhan are worshipable." Now the Brahmanda Purana is the Brahmanda, must have been the Brahma Purana. Excuse me, the Brahma Purana. Like heard of the Brahma Purana. So this guy was like this. He was into all these ritual texts and obscure books and whatnot. At that time, the Chaitanya Charitamrita hadn't been published yet. And so somehow he found out the ruins of Govardhan were worshipable. There was no Govardhan puja going on in ISKCON, and this idea was not something that had yet been understood or revealed by Prabhupada. And so he said, I showed Prabhupada the two stones and said they were important in the Brahma Purana, they're worshipable. And Prabhupada said, well, it says so in the Brahma Purana, it must be true. Imagine what Prabhupada must have been thinking, finally kind of humorous. And then Yashodananda Maharaj said, and Prabhupada picked up this one, he looked at it, and then set it down. And the other one he looked at, like that. He said, yes. So you can worship. He said, so I'm keeping the one that Prabhupada picked up, and the other one he looked at, I'm giving to you, because I know you'll take good care of it. So then I got that to Govardhan Shila that day. And 2 days later, I met with some of the followers of Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj, who I was just on my way to join with when I met this fellow. And when I got there, they were having a conversation about Govardhan Shila, and Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj said, oh, they were sannyasis. It's the best deity for the sannyasis is the Govardhan Shila. And so I said, hey, I got one of those. As a matter of fact, right here. And they said, oh, but you don't have the Gunjamala, which Mahaprabhu used to wear around his neck. There's some, they're like berries that grow, and then they get you could dry them and drill them and make a necklace out of them, red and white and black. The Mahaprabhu would put that necklace on when he worshipped the Govardhan, and he would bathe the Govardhan every day with his tears. This is how this was his worship. And hold it next to his heart. So he gave this to Raghunath Das Goswami. That Shila's there in the Radha Gopinath, Radha Gokulananda temple. The Lokanath Goswami. Not Lokanath, Parivar. It's got like an indentation of a thumb, and it said Mahaprabhu hold in stone, and it would melted. Krishna, his thumb came there, and he gave this to Raghunath Das to worship. This came to us in this way. So anyway, he gave the stone, and then he gave the Gujamala. And Raghunath Das thought, oh, Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's given me a place of Govardhan in the service of Radha, Gujamala representing Radha. So when I met the sannyasi, he said, oh, but you found the Gujamala, and then they gave me the Gujamala. So I got the opportunity to worship the Govardhan Shiva. I feel it has the combined blessing of Prabhupada and Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj. And when I met, then when I went to see Sridhar Maharaj, and someone had given me a little Shalagram and a little Dwarka Shila, and it's really hard. Like people give you these things, you go, okay, what am I supposed to do now? I'm worshiping the Giriraj, but I didn't. But so it's kind of a spiritual intimidation. So I took the two of them, and when I saw Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj, I said that I had to give me the Govardhan Shila, and I explained how. I said, and someone gave me the Shalagram and the Dwarka Shila. He said, you should only worship Govardhan. So then I had to, okay, you got to take those back. so justified, and see, it's coming from above. I can't take them. So and there's another point, of course, the opportunity to worship the deity comes from the blessing of our Gurudev. Gurudev gives the mantra that corresponds with the deity, and we have in that sense, we have the facility with his further blessing. I have little Gornatai deities also. I asked Prabhupada for deities because I used to go from temple to temple and preach, and then I couldn't fit into the deity schedule to do deity worship because they had their own pujaris at every temple. So he said, why don't you get a deity in Gornatai and take them, keep them in the chest, worship them in the morning, and then close. Then you go out and preach and come back and the next morning wake them up and do the puja. So those deities are there also at Adarya. So it's a great opportunity to have, be invited into that realm of. Nowadays it's a little different. In those days we only had deities in temples. Not everybody had deities. You wouldn't go to the shop and just buy them. Now I get this persons who want to be initiated, and they say, what should I do with my deities? Okay, got that a little backwards there. Got the cart before the horse, something. So I've developed an answer to that, and so that they won't be discouraged, and they can keep the form in their home and worship it in some way. But the actual deity where Arjun Marg there's a lot to it. But you can do it in a very condensed way with the Govardhan Shiva, which is nice. So it is a very, very, very user friendly, we should say. And one of my students, there's a couple others, Gopal, Karnamrita, Krishnanam. Every day they're doing, so amongst them, we set a very good example. So if some of you want to worship, the Michael Chandra in Poland also. So then you can get advice from them how to do, and then you could do it right, the full archana. In a simple way for Govardhan, it's easy to take care of. Of course, you can make it as elaborate as you like as well. But the point being that there are some rules there are some guidelines, and So there's some element of reverence. So the three angas, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, half an anga of Arshan, something like that. Yes.
I was just reading a purport in the fourth canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada was emphasizing how important it is in worship of Radha Krishna deities to worship them as Lakshmi Narayan, and that we should not think of them as Radha and Krishna until one is very advanced. I was wondering if you could speak about that a little bit. It's just,
Yeah. What Prabhupada was trying to do there is to emphasize the point, in one sense, that I'm making, that Archan Marg has some measure of reverence, inevitably built into it, and so one should be aware of that and approach the deity accordingly. And by doing so, one can cross over, if you will, from the reverential side to the side of intimacy, as the inner life and form, if your love starts to take a shape within. But it's a way, I think, in which Prabhupada was talking about that. The way in which he talked about it, it can be perhaps a little confusing.
he was saying it can be sahajiya.
What he said. So he wants to emphasize that just like that fellow had said to me, and I said, he asked the question, I like that you talk about worship and intimacy, but why are you always bowing down to the deity? And why don't we just, treat him intimately? And so if you just go and start treating the deity like Krishna and taking him to bed with you, or something like that, whatever. Time to take a shower, let's go. Go in and hold him while you take a shower. I mean, this is not the protocol for worshiping the deity, but you could do that with Krishna and Vrindavan. Let's hit the Jamuna, hot. Let's go. So you don't do that with the deity unless you're doing Bhava Seva, and that's a whole other thing. Then you're a Siddha, and then you're relating with the deity's talking to you and say, "Can we go for a swim now?" Or something like that. And you find these kind of crazy devotees with deities hanging around their necks and jumping in the Jamuna. And there's some extraordinary examples like this. So, but to imitate that and worship the deity in intimacy, in terms of actual protocol, behavior, conduct, the way you interact, and so on and so forth, would be inappropriate and cheapen the whole thing. Kind of, instead of going up to where Krishna is, you're taking Krishna down to where you are in the name of intimacy, and it's actually a little a bit uncomfortable for him in that situation. So you have to become Krishna-like, not like in the name of intimacy, not that Krishna becomes like you in the name of intimacy. So why don't they just come down and be like us? And, he has, in a sense, he's human-like, but like is a big part of it, the description, human-like, and unlike human is what the like means as well. And so the intimacy comes from going to him, his plane, not making him like you. Of course, in the experience of intimacy in divine love in Vrindavan, we'll think he's one of us, but then you'll be a Brajvasi and a worshipable being, even by those in Vaikuntha. So I think that really what Prabhupada wants to say, that I'm quite sure, is that he was very concerned about this. If you ever hear his lecture when he installed the deities in Los Angeles, he's like nervous that these people he's going to leave now and they're going to take care of the deities. And what did he just do? He just like asked Krishna to appear here and put him in the hands of these people who are, just not long ago, conducting the ways that aren't even thought to be materially pious, so to speak, of being spiritual, and gave him Radha and Krishna. So he had a kind of a trepidation like that. Of giving them the deity, what will they do? It makes them offense. And then Krishna would not be pleased with me. So sometimes he would emphasize like that. So he's a way of saying, think of them as Lakshmi Narayan. It's a worship Radha Krishna with reverence. But you really can't worship the deity properly. I mean, it's all these language and so forth. It's all reverential. It's not intimate. Idam naivedyam Krishnaya namaha, idam paniyam Shivradikaye. And you got the little silver plate and whatnot. Yeah, everything's done very carefully. The deity worship was actually the dharma, the yuga dharma for the previous yuga, it's thought. So the previous yuga was like the reign, the monarchical world. So Krishna is worshipped like a king in deity worship. So it has a reverential element to it, the Arjan Marg. And Prabhupada wanted to see that was in place. He did a good job. I mean, in all his temples today, it's one of the things that you really can't criticize ISKCON for. They Radha Kalachandji, they're beautiful. Deities are nicely taken care of. They're always shining and clean and nice offerings. And Radha Golokananda, is it Golokananda?
Golokananda.
Golokananda and so forth.
Radhasham Sundar and Alachua.
Oh my gosh.
Their standard is something.
Prabhupada's idea was these American people, Western people, but he was in America at the time, got all this money, they should be just throwing it at the deity. That's what they should do with their money. Throw it all at the deity. And there were times in Prabhupada's mission in ISKCON when he was here where temple presidents from all over the world would come to the festival in Mayapur and Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, they'd be in the Loy Bazaar, and they would have each one saved up money through the whole year. Then the temple president was there with his wife, and they were ready to spend on their deity. And this guy and his wife spent this much on Kishori, and this one Rukmini and Dwarka, and it was like a competition. In the Madhva Sampradaya, they have the Dupi. They have, I think it's eight temples and eight acharyas, and every 8 years, one of the acharyas gets Udupi Krishna deity with Rukmini's deity in Dwarka, and the rest of the 8 years they worship in their particular moth, and basically what they do is they do some canvassing and they raise money, and they raise money for 8 years, and then the 8th year they get to worship with Udupi Krishna, and then they spend the treasury on collections on him. Worshipped in the morning from 4 morning till noon, then the puja is finished. So it's heavy emphasis on Arjan Marg there. As I say, we have like kind of half of the limb of Arjan. And our deity worship is also, especially we worship in the morning time with kirtan. When we installed Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan, there was a huge hoopla to do that. And Brahmins from all over Vrindavan, well, for 3 days. For 3 days, the ritual went. And every now and then they would call Prabhupada the Acharya, had some duty to perform in the context of the ritual, the installation. He'd put a tulsi leaf and go back to his room and so forth. And then when it was all over, we did Hari Kirtan and put them on the altar. And Prabhupada said to us in private, he said just by the Kirtan, everything was complete. But I had to invite all these people because they think, if all these things don't go on, then it won't be complete. So that's a Gaudiya perspective. And from the Siddha, such faith in Nam and the Yuga Dharmas and Kirtan and so forth. So anyway, it's something about the deity worship. What, Chitahari, you had a question too? Different question? Take us in a different direction?
Yeah, maybe a different direction, a bit more esoteric, yes. Another parivars, so we're still in Gaudiya Sampradaya, but other parivars say, like, I was reading a bit about Advaita Parivar, and they do not believe in the eternality of Gaura Lila in the sense that we believe in it. Like, they believe it's eternal in the sense that the world's eternal and it's always manifest in the world, but they don't believe that there's a siddhadeya that one can achieve and have too. They believe that the Brahman Kishore body dissolves at asakti and stuff like that. So I was thinking, well, so then if they follow Rupa Goswami, they forward all the same books and everything. So it's like, what is their attainment going to be? Is it, in other words, is their attainment according to their faith, or is there actually an ontological problem with that idea?
Well, Bhaktivedanta Thakur explains that some devotees they are more attracted to Gaura Lila, some are more attracted to Krishna Lila, and some attracted to both. And so there's the prospect of attaining both Leelas, or one to the exclusion of the other. Now, this is not an idea that's coming from Bhakti Vinod. I mean, he does write about that, but it's all the way across the board, and practically all the families, communities, all the parivars of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we find this idea of the eternal manifestation in the of the unmanifest aprakrita lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Nadia. Only that one, I don't even know if the whole parivar Bhagavata, but there's one, at least representative of that in our time that makes that point. And the point is basically that it's not stated anywhere or something like that.
Yeah, Rupa Goswami didn't say it. So.
Original text, but I don't think that's entirely accurate. And I think that there is something from Prabodhananda Saraswati about that. He wrote in Navadvip something, Satakam or something. I did looked into this once, and I found, forgive me now, I can't remember them, but also I think in Vrindavan Das's Chaitanya Bhagavat, some references that could be construed as be speaking about such an aprakrita, unmanifest lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But that said, pretty much across the board, and it's accepted and pursued, and there are in those sects that do a kind of a systematic meditation, visualization, where that's prominent. There's all types of literature. It's been compiled for meditations on the aprakrita lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so the thing about the Goswamis, of course, who are the founder acharyas of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Shastra Gurus, you have to understand is that they established the Chaitanya Sampradaya, but this is a new Sampradaya. And so sometimes, you have to go, use Prabhupada's language, in like a needle like a plow. So if you were stick a needle and it makes a very small penetration, if you had to pull it out like a plow, it makes a big explosion. So eruption, a big hole. So knowing the time and circumstance, what you can do, what you can't do in terms of gaining acceptance and establishing a foothold, or establishing a whole sampradaya under the empowerment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we don't find that the Goswamis wrote very much about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's a obeisances to Bhagavan Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then the book starts, There's a couple of astakams of the Goswami glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Obviously, they acknowledge him as Bhagavan and refer to him as such, but it's not extensive by any means. What they wrote extensively about was Radha Krishna Lila, but they wrote about Radha Krishna Lila in such a way, with such penetration and insight into it, that if you follow that, you have to come to this logical conclusion: there must be a Chaitanya. They've plumbed the depths of the psychology of Krishna in the zenith, the apex of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it's reaching its climax in the Rasa Lila, and Krishna says, "I cannot, what you have is more in the form of your service than I have within me to reciprocate. So your service itself is worshipable by me, and as such, if I worship something, I want to experience it. I want to experience the love that you have for me. It exceeds anything within my experience." And go on, and here we go. And we're starting to enter into Gaur Lila. So nobody writes about Gaur Radha and Krishna Lila in that way. The Goswamis did. And if you understand it properly, you realize, there has to be another Lila. There's a problem with the Krishna Lila. If Krishna wasn't fully able to taste rasa, there were some impediments because he saw himself as the object of love, and he saw that the vessel of love had a more full experience, and so on and so forth. So these are all completely Gaudiya ideas that far exceed in power any citation from any book that Chaitanya is God. It says this in the Kurma Purana or something, some verse, another verse, and then it's not in this edition, it's or whatever. This verse is about Chaitanya. I go, really? Okay. Well, the strongest verses they cited was the verse from the Bhagavatam: Krishna Varnam Tasakrishnam Sangopam Vestraparashnam Yognaisam Kirtana Praya Jantis Tomata. So they made a good case there for a scriptural reference for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but no one ever before Swami ever saw that verse in that way, commented on it in that way. And so one can argue against that kind of commentary. So it's more or less academic that they went and found scriptural references and say, see, this is a reference to Chaitanya, this is a reference to Chaitanya. The more powerful thing that they did was they plumbed the depths of the psychology of Krishna in the climax of the book, Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you understand it properly, you realize, there has to be a Chaitanya. It's very, very powerful. Krishna has to have another Leela. Krishna's desiring to take the position of the ashray, rather than be in a position of the vishaya, rather than be in a position of the object of love. He wants to experience the position of the lover, who possesses the love, who embodies the love. And so they really did emphasize Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in an indirect way, and everybody accepts Krishna, and then they want to bring in the position of Radha. Took a little engineering, but they made a case for Radha, as we've been making a little bit here in our discussions, and then And that's the whole thing. I mean, that's it. If you look at Krishna, you can keep looking, keep looking. You know, what do you see? What do you see? Keep looking. I see Krishna. He's got a flute. You know, yeah, keep looking, keep. And then you just keep looking. What do you, oh, there's somebody else there. Oh, yeah, I see. It's like a hologram or something. You know, hologram. What are those things that
Yeah.
Mhm.
they move? And, oh, there's somebody else there. There's another figure. It's him in another form. One soul and two bodies. And Brahman is rasa. Oh, it makes sense. It has to be two for rasa. Now keep looking. What do you see now? Keep looking. And then, oh, it's Ramananda. The two become one. It's Chaitanya. I mean, this is in the heart of the Bhagavatam, and they're penetrating insight into what's going on there in the Rasa Lila and the conversation between Krishna and gopis is very, very compelling. And again, they've understood the psychology of Bhagavan Krishna in a way that in other sampradayas has that kind of penetration into his thinking and feeling. And after all, who are they? These are the handmaidens of Radha. They know. Vyasa veti na veti va. Vyasa may know, he may not know what he wrote down there. We know what he wrote down there. Rupa Goswami knows what he wrote down there. And so their commentaries on the Bhagavatam, they're more important than the Bhagavatam. Like Prabhupada said, hey, anyway, it's not Krishna's words aren't important, it's the devotees' words about Krishna's words that are most important. So if you, I'm saying they were very artful in establishing a sampradaya and going legal. They're talking about Krishna. Keep talking about Krishna. Keep talking about him in such flattering terms and in such a compelling way. The more you talk about him, the more you realize that Krishna is, as probably you say, is not alone. Krishna's not alone. Krishna's got his friends. Krishna's got his parents. Krishna's got his gopis. He's got Govardhan, Kimono, all these things. That there's this is the composite. What is Krishna? Because you have Mirabai singing songs about Krishna, me and Krishna. What happened to Radha? What about Nanda? You still got there. And Gaudiya songs, all these other extensions of Krishna through Shakti. The full Krishna is not there without them. He doesn't. They're all sung about and so forth, and so this is the real experience of the Braj. It consists of the bhavas. The bhavas is more important than Krishna, so to speak. I mean, you can't have one without the other, but they're complementary. So, if you study their work like this, then you see a very compelling argument from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's not overt on its face. So you understand that's so they didn't maybe underscore certain things a certain way, but then the tradition entering into what they said, then they're going to come out with certain ideas and concepts that correspond with what they're talking about. And so they didn't literally say, and there's an unmanifest Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you can go. Well, they didn't say a lot of things, that developed in the tradition. A number of things that's there for others to, unfold as time goes on and so forth. It's pretty widely accepted that the idea of the Nitya Leela for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, they don't. I don't know everything about it, but I've heard that argument before, and it's kind of a quiet one on the side that nobody really much entertains, except that particular group. And fine, if you don't want to enter into Gaur Leela, then you don't have to. But distinct possibility was there. So desires. And Prabhupada obviously accepted when he drew this picture of the spiritual world. I don't know if it's represented there, but
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya is there.
he's there, right?
Yeah.
Inside the lotus of the lotus, that is Radha and Krishna. And that's the point. The more you look at Radha and Krishna, the more you see, you look at Krishna, you see Radha and Krishna, you look at Radha and Krishna, you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Look again, it's just, it goes back and forth like. So, yeah, it's not an argument that they're ready to take on, and to the whole sampradaya, or that anybody will join in with. So it's a quiet little voice over there.
Would it be considered offensive then? To the Leela?
I mean, I don't find it very appealing, let's put it like that. To call to consider the whole of Chaitanya to be an occasional Leela that has no representation in the Paravyam. It doesn't seem very Chaitanyite, if you will, Chaitanya Vaishnava. So. But, I didn't really listen to their argument. It could be an argument that's not offensive. They say they don't write about it, so we don't think about it, we don't meditate on it, we look at it like this. And those that do, that's fine, whatever, So that, you may take a position like that and not necessarily be offensive. But I'm sorry, forgive me, I can't, it was a while ago, years ago, I looked into that and I found some references that I thought these could be cited to establish the point of an unmanifest. The word unmanifest means after the Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in this world, it's manifest, closes down, or corresponding with it always is an unmanifest Leela, where it's always in Navadvip, and Vishnu Priya is there, Lakshmi Priya is there, Mishra's there, he doesn't pass away like you asked about, neither does Lakshmi Priya, everyone's there, and so on. And Rupa Goswami's there. This kind of idea. What else?
Where the gopis are they represent aspects of Radha. Do the cowherd boys represent anything?
Some of them do, yeah. It said that Sridham, Sudam, Vasudam, and Kinkini, these are 4 friends of Krishna. That they are the personification of his antakaran, which constitutes a chitta, manas, buddhi, and hankar. Krishna has a hankar. He thinks he's that body. Thinks he's a hankar. I'm a cowherd boy. So you're thinking that I am a cowherd boy. This is personified. So these 4 are the manifestation externally of his fourfold components of his antakarana. They're cowherd boys. So Krishna this is his kind of, in a sense, this is his primary identity. I am a cowherd boy. He has 3 identities. I'm the son of Yashoda, and I'm a cowherd boy, and I'm the lover of Radha. We can say that I'm the lover of Radha. The object of Radha's love is prominent, but if we say it, he's a cowherd boy, because that's a secret. That's undercover. That's undercover. And while it's in the forefront that he's the son of Yashoda and Nanda, and he's a cowherd boy, everybody knows that when you grow up, then your friends and that life starts to take precedence over your family life. Right? And then you go, you're not entirely yourself in some ways around your parents as you are with your friends. You're a little different with them. So these are the 3 identities of Krishna. And these are the 3 sections of the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, that deal with the 3 centers. There's the Vatsalya Rasa center. This is the Damodar Leela. It covers several chapters. There's the Sakyarasa center. It's the Brahmali Mohan Leela and the Dinakasura Leela, chapters 12, 13, 14, and 15. And then there's the chapters of the Rasa Lila. These are the 5 chapters. The Madhurya Rasa center. This is what the Bhagavatam is about. These feelings. And they're so, you see, they're showcased there in such a way that they're very compelling, and you can become attracted to those feelings there. And hearing about Krishna. This is this excellence of the Bhagavatam. These bhavas can leap out, and you can be contagious. And so anyway, yeah. So that's one example of how there's some aspects of Krishna's personality manifest as persons. But that said, it's a little different because, as I've said, there's really one Krishna and many Radhas. So Krishna is the perfect hero, and Radha's the perfect heroine in a drama, heroine. And I think there are, 93 or is it 94 different types of heroes in the aesthetic language of Indian, the arts, drama, and so forth. So, for example, there's 2 types. There's the married type and the unmarried type, the Parakiya and the Swakiya. And then there's the Dhiradata, Dhiradalita, Dhiraprashanta. There's 4 there. 4 times 2 is 8, and it multiplies like this. And it's all in form in money in the first chapter. So 90 some different heroes that you will find in drama, for example, of the Indian poets and dramatists and so forth. One drama showcase this kind of hero, or another kind of hero will be in there. So Krishna is the composite of all of them. And then there are 300, I think it was 360 types of heroines, and Radha is the composite of all of them. But there's one Krishna and many Radhas in the sense that I'm speaking about, because it's not like there's some coward boy that can represent Krishna, and the gopis are going to have a relationship with him in that way. That Krishna can have a relationship with another gopi and together a relationship with what is the personification of an aspect of Radha. So in that sense, there's one Krishna and many Radhas. And so one center, object of love, and then many nuances of love being offered, something like that. So it doesn't entirely play out in the way that you were questioning, but to give an example of how some of the cowards are manifestations of some aspect of Krishna. Yes.
What he was asking, did Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master really tell him that he was a fool?
Did Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master tell him that he was a fool? Yes, he certainly did. Murkha, a fool. And why? Because he told him that this is comes in the 7th chapter of the Adi Lila, which is a curious chapter, because in the chapter there's a beginning description of the end of the Mongol charm of the book. It ends with Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Surupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhakta Kyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. And that last, the 7th chapter is kind of picking up Shakti on the Shakti Tattva that Gadadhar personifies. When it's talking about Shakti Tattva, it means the Sarup Shakti. Obviously, the Bhaktas are also Tatastha Shakti, but they're considered Bhakta Tattva, and they have this, their Purusha and their Prakriti at the same time, so as we were discussing the other day. But anyway, the 7th chapter starts like this, and then it glorifies the Sankirtan. And then it segues into a whole philosophical section of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's enlightening and converting the sannyasis of Benares, headed by Prakashananda Saraswati. So while the first 6 chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita are rich with philosophy and theology, explain the different tattvas of Bhagavan himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Prakash, his manifestations in Paravyom, in the spiritual world, headed by Balaram, which means different faces of himself in the spiritual world, different emotional embodiments of different aspects of his emotional self. So Balaram is like that. He's like Krishna, but he's the side of Krishna, the whole of Krishna, and goes to Vaikuntha and so on and so forth. So these are the Prakash. And then there's the Avatar. Avatar means comes down from there, manifests in this world for deliverance. And then there's somebody to be delivered. That's us, Jiva Tattva, and prospect. And then there's the means of deliverance. What is the means of deliverance that the Avatar makes available? That is bhakti. So this is the Panchatattva. So in order to have the kind of love of God that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was talking about, you have to have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have to have the Prakash, you have to have the Avatar who brings the way, and you have to have the person that's going to be liberated. So they're all a composite. It's not a trinity, but it's whatever you would call that in five. Pancha Iti or something. Pancha, yeah. So five truths. Anyway, so I'm kind of going on a tangent about it, but this is what the chapter's about. These chapters are about, and so much philosophy and theology there explaining these things. That what the Chaitanya dispensation is about. And then what's not dealt with is a significant philosophical subject as well, that in Gaudiya text, and that is that what we're talking about is not what Shankar is talking about. This is a significant aspect of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, because at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this monism of Shankar was very prominent. It was the religion of the dominant thinking. Although Ramanuja had come, Madhava had come, still Advaita Vedanta was very powerful, and you had the Brahman religious representation of that in the form of the what are they called, Smartas, and so forth. I mean, they were the pujaris at the Jagannath temple, even so. So at any rate, suddenly in the seventh chapter, Krishnadas segues into this narrative of the Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu going to Benares and passing through and coming back and converting Prakashanda Saraswati. And there's a whole dissertation there, philosophical presentation of what's wrong with Mayavad. This is what the chapter's about. So kind of like he wants to make this point too, as I should say that too. And given all this theology and philosophy, what is Chaitanya Vaishnavism? Let's say what it's not, in terms of other popular representation of spirituality. And so that's dealt with before then, why he wrote the book and who the principal players in the book be, the different branches of the Chaitanya tree, Nityananda branch, Gadadhar branch, Advaita branch are all introduced. And then in chapter 13, the narrative begins, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birth is there, and so on, and it goes in a kind of a chronological way. So the other thing that happens then in that chapter, that seventh chapter, it has a threefold purpose. One, to briefly introduce the concept of the Shakti Tattva, then to dismantle Advaita Vedanta, expose its shortcomings, and the third thing is to advocate the way of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very prominently, Nam-Sankirtan. So this is strongly advocated there, and this is an example of how strongly it's advocated, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, my guru called me a murkha, a fool, by which he meant that the Mayavadis, the Advaitins, think themselves very smart. They call themselves Gyanis, and all they do is study the Vedanta day and night. And when they saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not studying the Vedanta and singing and chanting, they thought, he's a babu cup. They were right. It means he's an emotional guy, but they didn't know he had spiritual emotions and bhava and what that was about and so forth. So they accurately described him, even with the spirit of criticizing him, vilifying him, or just saying he's not conducting himself like a sannyasi. He should sit and study the Vedanta and just meditate on Tattvamasi, 1880, Brahmasmi, what are the implications of this, and so on. Very dry kind of life. I was talking to the sannyasis. He said, he was addressing, they said, well, why don't you, why are you, by this point, he had created a teachable moment because he came to see them. It's a beautiful story. I'll be lecturing on that on Monday or so. That's where we are in Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually, in evening discussion. So he does go to see the sannyasis, and he sits where they wash their feet, and they say, "Why are you sitting there, sir?" And we see he showed his effulgence. He showed what they were trying to enter into. Brahman was his halo, where they were. So he showed some Aishwarya, and he created a teachable moment. And they said, well, why are you doing like? Why you dance like this? Why and chant in public and with other emotional people? And you're from the Bharati Sampradaya, And Mahaprabhu said, well, I'm from very low Sampradaya. Bharati Sampradaya was considered the lowest Sampradaya of the 10 sannyas names and ashrams. The Bharati was the lowest one, and Shankar had said something about the Bharati would become corrupted or something like that. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was initiated in the Bharati Sampradaya. That's why Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wanted to adjust his, oh, you're such an elevated person, but you're in the Bharati Sampradaya. I should make an adjustment on that, and I can reinitiate you into like Saraswata or the Tirtha ashram. So the Bharati Sampradaya was, it may be the one that is, I'm not sure about this, but it's making a conjecture. The sum of the 4 moths of Shankar, in one of them, maybe it's influenced by the Bharatis. They have more, they do bhakti. Of course, they do it with, with a certain idea what bhakti is, but bhakti was thought to be the more, for the less intelligent sector, who are more emotional and so forth. And so Mahaprabhu said, I'm from the Bharati Sampradaya. No, it's a good Sampradaya. Krishna said, yes, you're one of us, but why are you acting like that? And my good sir, you're very extraordinary. We can see, we can feel that. Oh, I don't study Vedanta because my guru told me that I was a fool. He's basically saying, you are all fools. That's what he's saying. You think that you can study Vedanta in Kali Yuga. And then, of course, he comes out with it. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Kevalam, Kalo, Anasteva, Anasteva, Anasteva. And he starts speaking about the path for Kali Yuga, this advocacy of Nam Sankirtan, which is the method to his madness and so forth, and how he chanted the Krishna Nam and Krishna mantra, what happened to him. He explains it from Bhagavatam, how he went mad and rolled on the ground. And he asked his guru, what kind of mantra have you given me? And his guru said, oh, very nice. You're getting the results. That's right. It's working. Don't worry. It's working. This way he converted them. And more or less said, you're all fools to think that you can study the Vedanta, number 1, in Kali Yuga. And number 2, it's simply by studying the Vedanta and meditating on its aphorisms that you can get what you can get by Hari Kirtan. Bhagavan Chaitanya Jiva Goswami says in Bhakti Sandarbha, said this, Shrotam api upanishadam dure harikatam nita kampashu pulakaya, and so on, that by the sounds of the Upanishads, which are spiritual, you will attain something that's very far, dure harikatam nita, from where you can arrive at by Harikatha. And then Satvika, Astasatvika Vikara, eightfold transformations of ecstasy, and so forth. Which are usually, if you look at all the examples of Rupa Goswami explaining the Satvika Bhavas, the hair standing on end on your head, and on all of the hairs on your body, and how that all works, how the Bhava enters the heart and through the pran rides, and then connects with the fire element, with the earth element, with the ether element, with the water element, and their corresponding ecstasies that are, they very much correspond with our human experience. In fear, the hairs stand on end. So there are certain emotions that will give rise to these Satvika Bhavas also, not just any emotion. It's a very nice explanation in Dr. Rasamrita Sindhu, but all the examples are given from the Leela. Gopi body, a Gopa's body, these things happening. The extraordinary thing is that all these things manifested in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body. He's not giving examples. And Sanatana Goswami passed out and has changed complexions, and all of his hairs stood on end. All the examples are in the Siddha. These will show up a little bit in the Sadhaka Deya, in the perfected Sadhaka Deya. And those people who are in the Sadhaka Deya and passing out and drooling and so forth, we question that. That can be imitated. So, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed all these things in his Acharya Leela form, kind of a practitioner's example. It's very extraordinary. And he showed things that weren't, Rupa Goswami said, I don't even write about these things here because they're so rare. Like the perspiring of blood and so forth that happened in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And see, the Goswamis, they were witnesses to this. They were either eyewitnesses or in touch with eyewitnesses, and they had to find the ecstasy that was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the scriptural map. What is that? It's obviously desirable, now of showing what it is from the Shastra, but I mean, regardless, this kind of ecstasy is desirable. To see Jagannath and pass out, and swoon, you faint. I mean, if the idea is to love God, I mean, that's pretty deep there. So he, by his person, an example, tells us he's divine, and now we have to go kind of backwards and say, and the scripture says this, and the scripture says it here, and so on and so forth. It's unnecessary from one point of view, but I mean, you do want to distance what he did from some just imitation or something like that. Of course, they acknowledge this is the Mahaprabhu. This is what Radha was experiencing, and this is what he's trying to do, and so forth and so on. So, and his method, anyway, is Nam Sankirtan. And so he says, my guru said I was a fool, and I couldn't study Vedanta. He gave me this mantra and told me to chant it. I had this magical effect. And when I reported back to him, he said, that's the effect that you're supposed to get. It's working. Keep going like that. And there's the two sides, of course. Like I say, Kali Yuga is not meant for studying the Vedanta. And even in a time when people were more qualified to study the Vedanta as a method, still you couldn't arrive at where you could arrive at through Harikatha. You can't get the same thing from saying Hum Brahmasmi as you can from talking about Radha and Krishna Leela. Dure Harikatha is very far away from there. That world of ecstasy where all these transformations of the body, involuntary, manifest, and hearts melt, and so on and so forth, and the external movements of anubhavs are there, and so every world of ecstasy. You can enter that world, that mythic, magical land, where again, where the real hearts are and the real smiles are. They have nothing to do with muscles. There's no Krishna has no veins, but he has a body. It's described in the Shruti. I think, what is it? Isa Upanishad. He has no veins. But he has a heart. How can you have a heart and no veins? But hearts that melt don't have veins, right? So he's got a real heart. So yeah, he's and people of Vrindavan, they look like fools. Just country bumpkins, people, village people, jungle people. They don't know the Vedanta. It appears externally. Village girls carrying the cow dung on their head. They just know about cows. That's all. And you become like what you associate with. So if you associate with cows, you become a little dull. It means you become uninterested in someone. This is so satisfying to stay here, swimming in the affection of their milk and so forth. And we've got a calf too. Hopefully she'll come tomorrow. Night of tomorrow. It's possible.
Wow.
You could try to sneak up there in the rain when you get a chance if you get a ride. See our beautiful Goshala. But yes, Mahaprabhu said that my guru told me I was a fool. But he's basically saying you are a fool to think in Kali Yuga that simply taking sannyas, you become Narayan, and so studying the Vedanta is the way. Shastra itself says, he's showing, I know Vedanta because I can tell you, Vedanta, the Shastra says, only in Kali Yuga, only by Harinam. And here you're studying Vedanta all the time, and you didn't know that. You missed that. And here I exhibit it, and you think it's something weird. But what does it say? And he gives a very emphatic verse, right, from the overall Shastra. I forget where it comes from. Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalo, Nasteva, 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 no other way, no other way. So he wasn't a fool. Once I heard Govinda Maharaj, Sundar Govinda Maharaj, successor of Sridhar Maharaj, give a talk on this point, and he Mahaprabhu said he could not study Vedanta and so forth. So he was saying our way is just for chanting and in the context of explaining that, he was quoting so many verses, and my perception was most of the body were thinking, yeah, we don't need to know all that stuff, just chant. And I'm thinking, he's saying that he knows all these verses, So Mahaprabhu was saying, I'm a fool. My guru told me I'm a fool, and so far I just chant. And by the way, it's Kali Yuga, and this was it. And you're studying all day, and you didn't know that. All day you're studying, and you couldn't figure that out, and you couldn't recognize it when it was right before you, in my person, and they were all converted. So that's the story. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
I was I know he says that there, but I'm wondering if this guru really did tell him you're a fool, or if he's just saying that to make his point.
I see. Well, we don't know. Exactly what Ishwar Puri told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are some descriptions of their exchange, and it would seem unlikely from what we've heard there that God like that. So I think it's more the latter that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is using a kind of rhetorical device to make a point to them. He's basically saying you're all fools.
You said to tell you now at 7:15.
7:15 now.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, it's time for our tickets. 7:30. Okay. So, nice group, and let's appreciate your questions, and we'll meet tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about Radha Tattva in the morning, and we have initiation, is it? In the morning also, so that would be nice. And followed by Kirtan Mahaprasad, and you're welcome to stay on after that. So, Shri Gauratananda ki jai, Shri Rajagopal ki jai, Shri Gaurada Madhava ki jai, Raj Govardhan ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.
I'm Grace. Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Swami Guru Maharaj.
Hmm.